Story 1. All the nuances of home maintenance. Thankfully, I have found some good resources for this, but I am 10 years into home ownership and still finding new things to do better. Story 2. As stupid as it sounds, you have the freedom to do whatever. You spend the first 20 years of your life being told, no, you can't do that for various reasons. It took me years to figure out that I can just go to the town over for an event if I want to. Story 3. Meal planning and grocery shopping. I know how to cook, that is, prepare ingredients and follow a recipe, but regularly having a fully stocked kitchen and being able to just throw together a meal based on whatever you happen to have on hand? No. Unless I have a very specific meal or recipe planned and specifically shop for those ingredients, I never know what to buy at the grocery store beyond items like cereal, milk, eggs, and bread. Story 4. How was I supposed to know that I need to keep in contact with everyone I have ever worked with on the off chance that they can get me in the door for job openings? No one told me this. Story 5. As a guy, you should get off your ass to shake the hand of the person who extended their hand in greeting. My father was wheelchair-bound, so he never taught or modeled this for me. This fact really never hit me until I was in my 40s. Story 6. That you are not at the mercy of your feelings. I used to get depressed and just lean into it because I believed that sadness was the truth. No one ever told me that not only did I not have to feel that way, there were things I could do to fight it, such as behavioral activation, but that staying sad not only hurt me, it also hurt the people I care about. Story 7. That you don't need to be constantly doing something productive. You can and should disconnect sometimes. Just go watch a movie, read a book, or play a video game. Reddit and other social media will still be there. You aren't missing out on anything. Story 8. How important having good credit is and that you should be building that up as soon as possible. You can live without it, yes, but it limits your financing options for big purchases if you do not have any. Story 9. I guess it's not a life skill per se, but it's more the horrible, stark realization that as a woman, corporations want you to remain insecure about your weight and appearance, so you will spend more money on diets, the gym, makeup, skincare, and so on. And as a kid, I thought that insecurity would go away with age, but my mom, who's now 70 and is the thinnest she's ever been, is still going on about her weight and appearance, as is my grandmother at 93. I just find it utterly tragic that it never goes away. Story 10. I was always told to wear plastic bags on your feet when you run in the snow to keep your feet warm and dry. However, no one told me they actually go on your feet under your shoes. The first time I took this advice, I layered 2 plastic bags around my running shoes and tied them around my ankles. I was very confused about why the bags kept ripping and I was slipping all over. Some old man passed me and said, "Honey, I think those go on your feet, not your shoes." Story 11. My personal list of skills I picked up after I left home: social dancing, public speaking, socializing in a work environment, budgeting, basic understanding of laws and taxes, working with difficult people, going out alone, doing whatever you want. Story 12. I realized I did not have to get up at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, get dressed, and sit in the lounge listening to the radio. I learned it was okay to buy branded foods if you liked them better. I learned I could have a nap anytime, not just when I am ill. And I learned to drive after being told it was too technical for me. I would not understand it. My dad, successfully put my mom and sister off learning to drive, but I learned on the sly. I passed my test with the local chief examiner, Mrs. Elizabeth Brown. He exclaimed, "Is that allowed?" As if women driving instructors and examiners did not exist. I also learned to ride a bike despite it being too dangerous. The same for swimming. Neither my mum nor sister dared, but I just snuck off. Learned at school and represented the school at swimming. Story 13. As a person with autism, the whole menu is the secret menu. It feels like the whole world was given the owner's manual on how to be a human. And all I got was the 5-page IKEA manual. Story 14. Useless knowledge. I know a little bit about a lot of things. I know all manner of facts that in no way actually help me in any sort of daily life situation. Story 15. How to self-motivate. I'm 32 and have no clue how to force myself to do something. Go to the gym, study, do laundry, make a doctor's appointment, even shower sometimes. This might be my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, depression, or anxiety, but I see other people teaching themselves how to code, going to the gym regularly, eating healthy, and so on. Story 16. Do it yourself. I own a house and I can't do anything. Honestly, I have to pay someone to do everything from decorating to fixing appliances. I can change a bulb. That's about it. My dad could do anything and everything, so I either didn't pay enough attention or he didn't show me. Story 17. What hospice is. I was 21 when I found out my grandpa was in hospice, but I thought it was just another term for being in the hospital, and my parents never elaborated. I was 2 hours away and thought I had more time to visit him because I thought he was just sick. So when he died, I was in shock. I'm mad I didn't ask more questions, but looking back, I really thought my parents would spell it out for me if it was that serious. Story 18. That interest earned in a savings account can still be taxed, which makes me wonder why. I'm saving money and not spending, and I'm still being taxed. You get to keep a certain amount, but still. Story 19. Things get better when you start doing all the hard work consistently until eventually it becomes second nature. Also, motivation doesn't happen on its own. You have to push yourself each and every day to take the necessary actions to succeed. Story 20. Emptying the dryer lint. The first time I moved out at 22, I noticed that over the first few months, my dryer would take longer and longer to dry my clothes. I mentioned it to my mother, and she asked if I had been clearing the lint. It was a brick of lint, like a geological survey of all the loads that contributed to it. It's a good thing I never burned my apartment down. Story 21. When I was a kid, there were several times I thought to myself, I'm not going to do it. They can't make me. And every single time I wound up doing it. Later, I couldn't remember what exactly they said or did that made me do it. I'm 40 now, and I still feel the same way. I'm a pushover. I'm actually kind of terrified of what things I might do if an important person told me I have to. The worst part about this is I'm a teacher, and I can't get the students to do anything. Not even the simplest things like putting their calculator back in the charger. Every day, the students rearrange all the chairs and desks however they want. I've made it clear this is not allowed. And every day I put them all back at lunch and after school, only for them to be left in whatever corner of the room after the next class. At some point, every adult learned how to manipulate people, but I didn't. Story 22. I feel like nobody ever really taught me how to be comfortable with authority. Growing up, I had a horrible time actually following rules and doing what I was told. I was actively defiant. The only person I respected was my father, and that's because he genuinely scared me. Now, as an adult, I become aggressive and violent whenever I am told what to do by anyone. Story 23. Social skills are super important. Your life improves significantly if you learn how to be social. I'm not saying you need to be a social butterfly, but you can at least aim to be a social moth. Learning some semblance of charisma is more important than many other things you could learn about people. It makes a huge difference. Story 24. When you move into a new place, either a rental or a home, change the shower heads and the toilet seats. This is something I learned by moving around a lot. These are small budget improvements that significantly enhance quality of life. Story 25. How to take care of a car. I did not know about the importance of rust-proofing. I live in a winter climate. I always thought you could not get car washes in the winter due to the cold, but it turns out it is very important to wash away the road salt. I did not know how important oil changes are or to change the filters. I did not know that little nicks in the paint could turn into rust quickly. I learned a lot the hard way. I am glad my first car was a beater. Story 26. Financial literacy. I'm extremely aware of how well-versed people are when it comes to their personal finances. Meanwhile, I have finally swallowed my pride and am meeting with a financial counselor now until I can understand all the complex terminology and find a budget I can stick to. I hate how ignorant I feel when it comes to money. Story 27. Not a super important one, but how to shuffle cards. My parents did teach me, but I've been to a number of game nights as an adult where someone doesn't know how to shuffle, and it's just a little awkward. If you have kids, you should teach them to shuffle. Story 28. I did not learn until my late 20s that unprovoked verbal abuse was wrong because it happened to me all the time during my school years, and nobody was called on it. Story 29. I've always tried to teach the younger guys who just got out of high school about things, but you know what? They never listen, and I have to sit there and listen to them complain about their struggles. Life is as easy or hard as you make it. There are many things no one taught me, such as waiting until you're in your 30s to get married because living with people is a lot different than dating them. Story 30. I missed the boat on playing around with makeup while it was socially acceptable to be terrible at it. At 23, I interviewed for a clerical position that wouldn't have any customer-facing tasks. At the end of the 30-minute interview, the woman rejected me. I asked if there was anything I could work on to make myself a more appealing applicant, and she said, "You have everything we're looking for, but if you can't even give us the benefit of blush, what can we really expect from your performance? A girl your age should know better." That night, I cried to my boyfriend about how belittled I felt and spiraled over how many other opportunities one missed because I never felt the need to learn how to do makeup. I spent the next several days binge-watching YouTube tutorials and product reviews, trying to build a skill I never knew I needed. I figured that even if I only ever used it in job interviews, at least I'd have the skill in my back pocket. My boyfriend picked up extra shifts to buy me my first set of products and brushes, but reminded me the whole way through that he loved my face no matter what some dumb old woman in a blazer said. I got fairly good at doing my own face, and it really did make a difference in how professionals treated me as a young woman in the workforce. 10 years later, it's crazy to think about how a single bad interview has cost me thousands in makeup but brought me hours of fun. I'm addicted to lipstick and rarely go out without it. Hell, I put it on to do my dishes. Story 31. That the game is rigged. Literally based on where you are born and who you are born to will determine your life trajectory so much more than how hard you work. We are sold the lie that work hard, do well will get us where we want to be. The reality is that unless you are born well off or get extremely lucky, life will be unfairly difficult and you will likely never get what you actually deserve. Story 32. For me, it's about how to manage money. Growing up with a single mom for half of my life, I always felt like I didn't have enough because everyone else seemed to have so much. So I'm really trying to instill in my mind how to be better with money. Story 33. I tell you what, sometime between my parents and my generation, we lost knot tying. My father-in-law has a repertoire of about a dozen or more knots he can use for different situations, and I'm just looping and pulling nearly randomly. Story 34. The different things you can do with your money besides keeping it in a checking account in the bank. No one talks about high-yield savings accounts or certificates of deposit or even the stock market in my real life. But apparently everyone else already knew about these things, and I only found out about it all in my late 30s. I always had a 401k retirement savings plan, thankfully, but all these other things you can do to make your money work for you, it's like everyone got a manual and I missed it. Story 35. Gonna bite the bullet and admit this one showering. Love my folks to bits, but they're people who do a thing for you until they don't, jumping immediately from full support to none at all. As soon as I was old enough that they weren't actually doing the scrubbing, I was on my own, except for the occasional scolding when it had been too long. So nothing was really explained. It doesn't help that I'm autistic and need clear instructions for everything. So as stupid as it may sound to some, I didn't know how to properly wash for years, well into high school. I could do my hair and not much else. I'm really lucky I didn't get sick more. I've gotten better but still struggle with some parts of hygiene, brushing my teeth, washing my face, cleaning my ears. All things I had to shamefully look up YouTube tutorials for, and still forget to do. Thank God for the internet so I can actually fill the gaps. Story 36. Critical thinking and research skills are all you ever need. Unfortunately, the education system, or lack thereof, failed so many, leaving me on top to judge all the way down. Story 37. How to motivate myself in the mornings. This has always been a problem for me and was often written off as being lazy or a hard sleeper. In reality, my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder brain would light up at night, making it hard to go to bed early, fall asleep quickly, and stay asleep. My deepest sleep hours are from 4 to 8, and I'm exhausted. In college, it was often impossible for me to attend an 8:30 class. My struggling morning brain understood that teaching myself the information later from other people's notes helped me learn it better than if I arrived late to class, dozed through it, and had issues for the rest of the day. However, I was told I was lazy when, in fact, my brain functioned differently from my mother and roommates' ideas of motivation and habit setting. Story 38. As a kid, my mom used to go to Eckerd and get her medical prescriptions by going to the front desk with a form and waiting for them to fill it. I had no idea that things had changed, and I'm not supposed to wait in front of the desk for an hour, and that they would text me when it's ready, hours to days later. Story 39. The simple art of not giving a dime about what others thought of me, and understanding that I am worthy enough to be loved, not because of how I look or what I do or did, but because I am human. I feel like many young people are not aware of these two golden rules of life. Own them, people. They will really help you.